everyone. Thank you, Bussy Arbitration. Hello. Thank you from Florida. I hope you're all well and safe. This is your girl, Simone Bresi-Ando, the creator and founder of Bresi-Ando Tools for Living. How are you all? So today is the very first of our IG Live conversations, and I really am super excited to be here and give you these kind of Sunday kind of getting your mind right conversations. And we're going to speak more in the spiritual ancestral realm. So today I have Evelyn Bandoh joining us. I just need her to request to be in the live, and then we should be able to get going. How are you all feeling today? Please tell me in the comments. I want to hear how you're all feeling. Here we go. She's coming. What's up, lady? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, hold on 1 second. I've got my mic in, so that means I can't actually hear you. So I might actually just take my mic out.
Oh, that's fancy. They make mics for phones and stuff. I don't know.
I'm just trying to think.
I have headphones in because that
do that, and
that's all I know.
But this is how it goes. So thank you so much for joining us and joining me. I'm going to give you a round of applause because I think you're totally amazing. So guys,
thank you.
The whole kind of introduction. So today is the first of our Ancestrally Speaking IG Live conversations. I'm hoping to do this on a weekly basis. And as I said, it's really going to be from an ancestral and spiritual plane that we're talking about. There is no other time that is better than right now to be communing and thanking and listening to the guidance of our ancestors and our spiritual army. There is not a lot of people talking on this level on the IG space in general, and there's several reasons for that. But the joy I have in creating the Adinkra ancestral guidance cards and all the great feedback I've got from people, I just wanted to be able to have these conversations and move lots of our sort of spiritual practices into a place of action, into a place of helping others. And so I have somebody as brilliant as my Ghanaian. You really are my sister though, because we're born on the same day and shit. It's just
one day after,
but she really is like my twin, to the point that our surnames are kind of like an amalgamation of my name basically. And so we may be related somehow. Who knows? When Ghanaian, everybody's related, so
Right.
Without further ado, people, I'm going to introduce the delectable Evelyn Bandoh.
Yay!
Hey, girl. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and just, why you're today.
Okay, so first of all, can you all hear me? Because I know these lives get really
loud
in my headphones. Okay, so who am I? I am someone who is in transition right now. So I always start with that because it's important. But in this iteration of my life, newly middle-aged, which is still easing into that, I am a writer, spirit medium, although I do not do one-on-one sessions anymore, and what I'm calling a well-being advocate. So advocating for all of us to do the work that's necessary to come home to ourselves. Over the years, I've done a lot of things. I've been on my own spiritual journey probably since I was 23, so that was like 17 years ago. In the last 5 years, I feel like I've been going through this interesting spiritual initiation, as my friend likes to call it, where it was really about shedding a lot of things that were given and really sitting in connection with spirit and ancestors about what's really real, and learning how to cultivate a belief system in connection with my creator of my understanding. And I think that's a lot of what the journey is about. It's not so much about being didactic or other people telling you this is what you need to believe and how you need to believe it, but what is it that it holds true for you in connection with your creator, in connection with your destiny path. And I'm grateful, Simone, thank you for having me and having this conversation, particularly over the last 5 years or so, as I've seen how spirituality as an amorphous definition has become a thing, and more people are trying to connect and leave behind certain ideologies for other ideologies.
Right.
And you know, that's a whole thing in
Yeah.
and of itself, and I guess we'll get into that at some point.
Really?
So
Well, for giving me this time on a Sunday morning. I just thought it was best place for people to kind of start or end their week with these kind of themes and messages that we're going to be giving in these conversations. So you guys, if you've been following Tools for Living, my beloved spiritual tools brand, you may be seeing that at the start of each month, we have an Adinkra symbol for each month. And so actually, while I was kind of thinking about which Adinkra symbol would be the most relevant this month, I thought, you know what, we need to talk about the themes that come up. So you guys may see, oh, this is a little bright. I'm sorry, people, that it's so bright. But here we go. For May, this is the symbol. And I'm going to allow somebody else who is an Indigenous Chi speaker to pronounce it, because I don't want to butcher it. And yes, I've been seeing the comments on my other videos about my accent. So let me spare the kind of criticism today. So here we go. Nsuo, Ngyae, Ansa, Yeakoso. Yeah. So basically, this means that you don't wait for the rain to stop before you start collecting rainwater. That's the general meaning of this symbol. And why I thought that was really best place for May is because this is going to be, or this should be, a time for us to plan, and to plan in a really sustainable way. And yes, let's start from the beginning. We don't know what's coming. We don't. We talk about a new normal, but I don't know if anything's going to feel normal, even in a new way. So how do you plan for the unknown? And this is really where your spirit guides, ancestors, and your intuition have to kick in. And these are all the messages, these are all the lessons that Tools for Living has been given since its creation in 2017. So just over to you, Evelyn. How do you perceive this symbol and its themes and what it's saying? What do you take mostly from the themes of this symbol?
Sure. So yeah, my tree, I'm just like, oh, because I'm just like, oh Lord, I sound like a white girl. Trying to get the accent right, and every time I'll say stuff, people will be like,
I know.
My cousins, like my native cousin speakers, my cousins who are native speakers will always laugh, and I'm like, whatever. Right. And it's interesting because when I was reading it, I can read it, I can understand it, right? It translates, and then I pronounce it, and I'm like, oh, it's water. Okay, water, yeah. Rainwater. Yeah. So I think it can be taken a few ways. When we think about the concept of rainwater, yes, it's coming from the earth. It's what do they call that process? When they recycle, condensation, all that whole six-step precipitation process. Oh, that whole step in science, right? Where it goes up, it condenses, it precipitates from the clouds, it comes down, all that other type of stuff. So in that understanding, the ideal situation to collect what you need in order to prepare yourself when you are wanting to create things that harvest in the future is when the situation is happening, exactly. Right? Because the reality is that you can't necessarily collect rainwater when it stops raining. So the first thing I would encourage people to look at is when you look at the literal translation of you cannot collect rainwater. You don't wait until it stops raining until you collect the rainwater. What does the rainwater represent to you? Right. What does the collection aspect represent to you? What do you use that rainwater for? So it's all symbology. It's all parable, and it's all proverb. Yeah. And it's the Adinkra symbols. And I'm so grateful for the messages and the lessons that our ancestors had the foresight to leave. Right. Right. And it was a language of communication. I mean, it's interesting because for many Black people across the diaspora, particularly a lot of us first generation kids, is that we lose some of the wisdom in the communication because English language is very different and the transliteration is different. So in addition to the messaging is a proverb, and it's also a symbol of communication. And so there's the literal translation, but then there's also that deeper ancestral wisdom of cycles. Right. Cycles and seasons, yes. and the preparation. Exactly. So what does that rainwater represent? And I think for everyone it's going to be different. And if we're talking about it in the time of COVID-19, right. It's just different. There's no one way to be in this space. There's no one way to prepare for this space. Really, it is coming back to, okay, if you ideally are doing the shelter at home, if you are able to do that, and you are able to take the space to just sit down for a minute,
right,
then you need to figure out, where am I? Not worrying about this person, that person all the time, but like, where am I? What is my life looking like right now? Where do I feel like I've gotten off track?
right.
Where is it that I'm trying to go? What seeds am I trying to plant? Is this the time to look in my garden and take up the weeds and take up the seeds that I don't want to bear fruit?
Mhm.
And what do I need? Because I look at rainwater like energy. So
And also,
what?
it's the start, right? It's water is life, and
Right,
water is our enemy. So it's
right,
the start of the ideas. It's the start of whatever we're trying to do.
right,
And just to add, I wanted to put in there that for me personally, what I'm taking the rainwater to be is information. And the reason why I'm feeling that it's information is that I need to inform myself about me, as you said, in this moment. Who am I? What do I want to be? Then, what is the information I want to take from outside sources that makes sense, that feels good, and will make me prosper? You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to add that in, because I felt like sometimes we're looking for these big kind of signs and stuff like that. Maybe it's simply as, what the fuck are you taking in right now? You know,
right,
and what the fuck is that? And why?
right,
And why does it make you feel like this? Why
right.
acting like this? How can you respond to things? So just back to you, but I thought that was a good point.
No, thank you for that. And then the thing with rainwater too is, if we're looking at the nature and the earth analogy, our atmosphere is shit. And so rainwater has to be cleansed. It has to be, you don't want, what do they call it? Chemical rain and all that other type of stuff. Depending on where you are in the world, your rain is suspect. It just drop in your eye and make you cry. So when you collect whatever it is you're collecting, is it helpful to you?
Mhm.
How do you irrigate it? How do you alkalize it? If
Yeah,
that's the term for water. How do you, there's wastewater professionals who literally will take rainwater and
right.
they will do things and turn it into water that can be consumed or be
Yeah,
used for other things.
of course.
So if you are, it's the recycling of all that is into another form. And it's that energy, because it's neither created nor destroyed. It just recycles over and over and over
I,
again. So what energy is being recycled, and how are you transmuting it to something that's useful for you?
I love that. I love that kind of imagery that you've brought up to me, the transmutation and just, the cleansing, because everybody's like, ugh, can't wait for 2020 to be over. 2020 this. And I'm like, don't be cursing on this. This is the start of a new millennium. What we do now is going to flavor how things look like for the next 10 years and beyond. And for me, I'm not doing much of the 2020, because there have been years previous to this that have been even more worse for me personally. So I'm really at a point where I have to really gather myself, take what it is, cleanse it, use it, transmute. And I've always said in the readings that I was doing with OK Africa, the Adinkra Oracle, get ready, flexibility. You've got to be able to take the shape of water. We didn't know what was coming, but something was coming, right? And as you're saying, it's the transmutation. How are we pivoting? And what are we pivoting into? Or maybe we're not. These are all the things we have to kind of question ourselves about as well. People are always looking for, okay, but I have to be better and I have to be this. Well, maybe you just have to sit still.
Right. Maybe you just have to accept who you are. So
That part.
it's interesting when you look at, so there's religion on one end of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And then new age spirituality, which
Mhm.
is what is the thing right now, because it is the most successful. And then you have some African traditional religions
Yeah.
that people are also doing the work to get into, which is a beautiful thing. But
Mhm. Good.
when you look at that spectrum of the new age spirituality, which really, if you go back, you can't go further back than 18, maybe 17 something, like 18 something, 1800s. And you talk about all these universal laws, so on and so forth. But the reality is, there's only a universal law if it applies to everybody, no matter what, right? So we can get into a whole conversation about how I think the law of attraction is shit.
I hate
And
this. Uh, 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 yeah.
because it's, you know, and how I think I read somewhere Napoleon Hill actually, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, that everyone likes to cite, he died poor.
That you attract.
Right. And so what is the popular mainstream nomenclature right now is, you know, your spiritual journey, you do all these things to become successful. And that's just capitalism on another side of the coin, but making it more accessible through the power of your mindset or whatever, and not taking into consideration, you know, there are systems at play, and then there's destiny. And when you look at any indigenous tradition, whether it's of African origin, and I'm speaking in terms of the continent and the many, 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 you know, you go to, I'm talking continental wise now, Southern American indigenous traditions, you know, the traditions, the Malay, the Koreans, before everything became what it was after all these world wars. Every indigenous tradition believes in an aspect of destiny. Mm-hmm. And we can't necessarily out manifest destiny. And so over the years, I fell out of relationship with that word because, you know, something wasn't jiving right. And then if the manifestation is always material, yes, it's always about what you get. That's not necessarily the walk. And so when you're looking at different ancestral, right? Yeah. And it's more so it's who you are. It's not, the doing part isn't even that important. It until you come into alignment with who you are and how you were designed and created to be, like with your creator. Until we collectively view ourselves from the lens of the God that created us, or the creator of our understanding, and not the lens of the oppressor. Whether you are buying into religion, whether you are buying into new thought, spiritual beliefs, or whatever it is, it's always going to be this chase. It's always going to be, you're not going to be preparing for your destiny. You're going to be preparing to achieve some external metric of validation. Cool. And so they really encourage people at this time. I'm not one of these didactic, here's how you do a step, tips, because I don't fucking know. I'm here with y'all. You know, if I was prescient, I would have maybe been born and finished my time like 50 years back or 50 years forward. But I'm here. Yeah. And what I do know from having been going through this initiation on my own walking journey, mm-hmm, is you have to take the time to sit down and get aligned with what is your work to do in the world. Yeah. You have to get aligned with your people. Yeah. In this realm and in the other realms. And it's easier for some of us than others, whether you are a diasporan on the continent or not, because there's a lot of folks on the continent who don't have access to their specific lineage and the broader types of situations, right? And that's a whole other reason. Because right, colonialism and our patriarchy and our stupid shit and everything else, right? Yeah, so yeah.
I know, and I think you made some valid points, and actually I really want to highlight the bit where you said I don't know. And so there's a time, and it's been a time for a while, where people are trying to grab onto people and leaders and stuff like that. My spirit, my energy, the kind of personality I have, I'm the leader. I lead myself. There are some people that I take knowledge from, and they can give me lessons, and I understand and I respect that you're one of them. And there's many others in my circle that I do lean on and feel comfortable taking that knowledge from. But a leader, someone to lead me, and this is what I find the beauty of African traditional religions, because it's on you. There is no person who's going to be between you and spirit in your spiritual army. No person. You and spirit convene. They tell you directly what needs to be done. And I love the beauty of that direct connection, because nothing can be squandered. Nothing can be misinterpreted. Nothing can be oppressed or exploited. It's about you. And I think when people in these times especially are saying, I don't know, I need to know, or they're looking and they're doing cards and we're wearing crystals and this, that, and the other. Okay, cool. Right? But at the end of that, if your voice isn't clear in all of that you're doing, if your voice isn't reigning true, if your spiritual voice isn't reigning true, then who are you following, and what are you doing, and what purposes are you doing that for? I mean, right now, what we've seen and what Corona has done for us is to really recognize just how powerful and beautiful Mother Nature is. and also that we've been denigrating her for too long. And it's time for us to say thank you and to also repent for what we've done to her in so many ways. And then to do that, and actually an active repenting would be look at the way we're impacting Earth in the things we buy, the businesses we patronize, the way we're living, how we travel. Really be mindful about that and start thinking about, okay, I want an Earth that I can survive in, because this melanin, we're of the Earth. This is ours. So we have to protect it more than anyone, because we're also impacted very much so by environmental racism as well. And I just think it's a really important point that we sometimes skip over, because especially if we can't eat, it's kind of like, well, I need this because I got to eat. Yeah, but as we've been shown, our health and the earth is what gives us everything. It's the basics.
Right.
So I'll open it up to the people who are watching right now to ask us some questions, please. Chime in. This is about y'all too. It's just, I love these conversations because it sparks things in us, sparks angles that we maybe never have thought of before. But just going back, Evelyn, the rainwater, as you said, what is it? What can you choose? And you said for yourself, it can be so many things. But in this moment of a pandemic and everybody's at home and things have stopped, all of those kind of things, what do you think would be most useful? Personal opinion I'm asking for. What would be most useful for people who kind of understand the okie doke, but they want more?
So here's the thing: if you are someone who understands the okie doke, then you already know what to do. You're already doing your work, right? You're already taking, like, if you understand the okie doke through the levels, then you already know. And so I would say keep doing what you do and are doing to keep coming home to yourself. Do not live your life in illusion and delusion, and take this time to get very honest with yourself and be very kind to yourself. And that whole brutal honesty is whatever.
Yeah.
But be compassionately honest with yourself about where you are, where it's time for you to do better, and whether or not you are aligned to whatever it is that your destiny is to do. And to take this time to get your physical body, ground into your physical body, so the hydration, all the physical goals that we may have thought have been difficult in terms of our maybe our ability, our fitness levels, and whatever capacity we have them in our diet and what we consume, our linkage of emotions to what we're eating, all this other type of stuff. Take an opportunity to really ground into that physical body. The challenge is, right, there's going to be this collective energy to go move, to be less vigilant because it's getting nicer outside. We need to open back up. The panic is going to start to set in. The jitters is going to start to set in because we are so used to being busy. And you have to really, being still is it's a skill set. It is a practice. And a lot of our meditation is not necessarily doing a traditional Eastern meditational sit, right? It could, for many of us, it's through movement, it's through dance, it's through playing drums. Like a lot of indigenous cultures, whoever is shamans to medicine people to whatever it is, to the different Akan traditions, the drum is very important because the drum is how you call your people. It's the drum beat of the earth. It's the vibration, whether you're looking at the Ashe, whether you're looking at Om, all of this vibrates it's how the earth vibrates, right? If you ever sit in silence and you just listen to the hum of everything around you, it's all the same vibration, whether it's your refrigerator, whether it's the air, whether it's whatever. So to the extent that you find a drum soundtrack on YouTube, or you have it on iTunes or whatever people listen to their music through right now, and you just sit or you stand up and you dance and you let the drums play and you say your prayers of protection, and you be very intentional about connecting to your helpful ancestors, because not all our ancestors are helpful, right? And being clear about
all on the good
right. You know, call on your helpful ancestors, and having a journal and a piece of pen and paper is helpful, because you start to just free write and journal and feel out, you know, what's coming up, what's coming up, what's coming up. And then at some point, your people are going to guide you as to whether or not you need to go get a teacher. You need to consider going through a lineage training, right? You're going to get in connection to whatever that your path is. But if because everyone's saying meditate,
right? And it's like,
right, if you're not naturally, if you are already a naturally anxious person, sitting down with your thoughts in contemplation is going to be very challenging and difficult. So you can try to train yourself and do 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. You can put breath work into it, or you can dance. You can literally dance. You can get some bass heavy music, movement, and dance and move, yes. Right? Yeah. So that is what I would encourage
people to
do and look at. Ground into your body, and that's how you start to connect to that intuitive wisdom that starts to come up.
I love that. And it's funny, since been sheltering in place, music is my first love. My first love. In a previous life, I was a DJ and a promoter. So I'm a huge musical nerd. Like, I can tell you which remixes, I love music, okay? And what I've realized is that I'm spending about 30 minutes to an hour to dance, just dance in the mornings, because I'm not rushing out the door and trying to get the makeup on and sort my hair out and who emailed me and oh my goodness and whoa. I'm not doing all of that. I'm literally rising, you know, instead of like shooting out of bed. I'm rising, and then I'm putting on music, and I'm feeling myself, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm moving, and it's such a spiritual moment that I'm having in the mornings now, and it's such a beautiful way to connect to self, but also to be more open to the messages that come. And so there was a question that came up earlier, which is like, well, where do you start? How do you start connecting to your ancestors? Just what we've been saying, movement is amazing, what it can do in making you feel connected to self, because really ancestors is self, right? You're the sum of their parts. So as much as you're connected to yourself, then it starts moving. And also you have to follow your intuition. An altar might be a good idea. You know, as you're saying, journaling, meditation, all of these things. And there are different things that work well for different people. So you've got to start the journey, I believe, with movement. I think you're totally spot on. We have another comment here, and from pun intended 93.
Kenyan!
Because I
think, right? Yeah.
Houses late. This is not something I typically do. I'm right there with you. And this is the beauty of this period. And the thing about beautiful things, they're sometimes really harsh and ugly and hurt, right? So the deaths and who we're losing and the sort of income stream and all of those things are hard and heavy, and they will change us forever. But then there is this beauty that comes out of being so I don't know, hurt maybe by these things, where we just have to dance, where we just have to move, you know.
Right.
I love that. Please, let's keep moving.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
In when I used to send out a newsletter under a different situation, my whole tagline was, "You have to make room for your peace, your joy, and your happiness."
Repeat that. Can you repeat that? Because make room. Please say it again.
So what I have learned in my journey, no one has to do shit. You don't got to do nothing, right? But what I have learned in my journey that has resonated with other people is that you have to make room for your peace, joy, and happiness, or you have to reclaim the room for your peace, joy, and happiness.
Can
right?
you just giving me these keep? Come on.
And so one thing that is grounding for me, that is being helpful for me and to me, is to not be so focused on after this is done, after this is done, after this is done.
Because it's not
right. And if we want timelines, it's going to be a while.
Right.
But to start visualizing and embodying the future isn't the right word, but the way of being that I wish for myself and I wish to see in the world. You know, my vision for the future, right, is one where we are able to be who we are in peace and we can do what we love and it sustains us. And everyone has enough and everyone has what they need to be abundant and prosperous. And we all have access to what we are divinely inherited to have access to. I wrote it more eloquently in my journal, and that's what it was. And so how do I start to embody that now while also living in truth? And part of that is having to meet each moment with integrity. Because my prior life, I was an economic developer for 20 years. So I understand, and I have a background in public administration, public policy, taxation. I know the US system very well. I was a public servant, public administrator, nonprofit person, small business person, for like, you know, trainer, coach, everything, 20 years. So this game, I know it. I know it well. I'm looking at everything that's happening. I can tell you what's just going to happen next based off experience and based off intuitive hits. And
I have to say, if you follow you, I'm not sure if they can follow you, but your Facebook posts are everything. And
thank you.
Insights are just amazing. So if you are open to people following you to get those insights, my God, please do it, because she really does get you together.
Thank you. And it's this tough wisdom, because the other thing about our journey and our walk, it's not about becoming so spiritual that you transcend this earth plane, because really you transcend the earth plane, you're not on this earth plane, right? Our journey is growth and experience and love and really embodying humanity. And whatever that means for us in achieving our destiny timeline, our destiny, what we were seeded to be. So this push for, you know, we have to master this and master that, and we have to ascend to the fifth dimension. I'm like, we can't even manage our lives on the third dimension. What the hell are you doing in the fifth dimension? What happened to the fourth dimension? And I know there's so many different theories and this and that, and this one's coming back, and this star system, so on and so forth. But the reality is that we're all here. And we have been given, we were given soft nudges, like we can evolve on our own. We can evolve to our next points of all of our lives in the collective on our own. Or y'all gonna get this work, and right now we're getting this work.
We're getting the work, and
it's just the beginning. Like this, what we see now, it's just the beginning.
Work. This is not even the work.
This is not the work.
I'm telling you what is coming.
Right.
If we don't figure this shit out very quickly, which is not going to happen.
No, unfortunately not.
But there are storms that we're just going to have to look at right through, and also honor and respect it.
Right. Because the reality is, anything that is happening on the earth plane has been happening in the spiritual plane. The spiritual war, so to speak, has been happening on the earth plane for the last 5 or 6 years. Yeah. And if you've had some
me too
attunement, you know, and everything else, you're like when everyone was getting excited about 2020 and it's going to be the year of this, that, and the third, and I was just sitting there like, yeah, I'm not going to do a vision board because it's not going to matter. I'm not a vision board person. I'm a writer.
Right.
I write my stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sitting there doing much of anything because it's going to be some shit, and not just because of the U.S. election. Because if from an energetic perspective, if you were paying attention to what was happening with that election, there was an energetic kraken that was released, right? And your boy, you know, I call him the grifter in chief at 1600. He's doing his spiritual job.
Well, this is my
right. He's doing his spiritual job, and he's doing his spiritual job,
right?
Say it again.
Our purpose, right? We've all got our destiny, right?
Right. And yeah, right. And he represents the collective shadow. He represents the narcissism, the greed, the just malfeasance, the nonsense of humanity. The shit that we have been doing has been nonsensical. And the fact that we are not offended enough to make the change that needs to be made. I mean,
Right.
we were done when someone went in and killed like 20 some odd kindergartners,
Right.
and we didn't ban the assault weapons.
Right.
We were really done when the kids were being put in cages and we were like twiddling our thumbs on Twitter, like outraged on Twitter. You know, so this is a mirror. It's a reflection for us about what is it in our psyche that allows us to be so addicted to our own suffering that we sit here and we act helpless. The ancestors, our collective ancestors, our lineage ancestors, you know, they just didn't do and go through everything they went through for us to be suffering like this, right? And so to the extent that more people are going to be returning to their roots in their ways, there's going to be more of that inner strength and that inner cultivation and that inner, like, get to know yourself. You got to get clear on yourself, know yourself, come home to yourself, know your people, know your stories, know your food systems, know your body health, because what is happening is the beginning of whatever this shifting of history, this shifting of how we live going forward is going to look like. And dependent on how many people in the collective can get it together and come together is going to determine how peaceful or how painful this next level this collective initiation to our next is going to be. So our spiritual walk is not just about I'm ascended and I'm above the fray. No, none of it. If you're on this earth, you're in the fray.
Right.
You're in it.
You're of it.
You're of it. Your energy is contributing to it. You know, that's the best way I can say. So what type of energy are you going to contribute to the fray?
And it's that point I made earlier about also what you do.
Right.
What you do in these moments, in the moments before, what you do in the future moments, all of that stuff adds up. It all adds up into how the hell you're going to figure this out and also be judged by yourself and your ancestors too.
Right.
Because let's not, you know, I don't want to feel, you know, to kind of take on the Christian feelings of what the spiritual world is. It's not a kumbaya type of place. You know what I mean?
Right.
Are taught lessons that hurt, and sometimes they hold you like no other can hold you. All of those things are there, but we should be very real about the things we do and the things we expect from others and ourselves and our communities. And if we're not doing what we expect,
because indigenous traditions, and I've been looking at, I've traveled and lived around the world, and I'm looking at all the like things before religion, right? Things that have cultivated and created cultures within people. Their order is a big part. Divine order is a big part of most traditions. There's no jumping back and forth. There's no fast forwarding.
Follow. There's no this like order.
Right. There is an order.
Rules.
Right. And you know, I'm Americanized. Well, like we can shortcut this. We can microwave this shit. And my ancestors, my guides, be like, sit your ass down. You know, we're going to show you the vision for what your stuff is supposed to look like, but you're trying to jump over here, and you're not trying to.
Can we just say that again? We're going to show you the vision for what your stuff is going to look like. I just need to repeat that because, my goodness, my hard head don't always understand that either.
Right. And so, you know, Spirit, they'll give you the vision, and, you know, in our westernized mind, we want to get there. We want to fast forward it. We want to do what we need to do.
It's because you know, and it's like, you know.
Right. And it's really like, so the word I would also give us is patience. Cultivating patience.
It's about patience. How are you doing that?
Right. And timing.
Woo!
You know, and looking, you know, like the astrological impacts, looking, you know, towards people who do sky work, astrology work, whether it's rooted systems, native systems, evolutionary astrology. You know, take this time to really understand the energies within you and how you project them outwards. You know, if I had to give people things to do to, if they haven't really learned themselves and they want to start doing that self-exploration and you want that additional help, you know, I know some people aren't into astrology. I think astrology and looking at your birth chart, particularly when you get it read by someone who is very skilled in systems, is really important, because there's energies within that, within the sky, about where you were born. So what's sister's name? So my star, Adama, Grace.
Yeah.
One thing I love about her readings is she looks at, you know, the Western astrology, but then she puts some of the African indigenous things in as well to understand it from that perspective. And I want to say her thing is Grace in Motion. I can't remember, but if you go to lilsoso.com and you look at the
Oh,
horoscope things that
oh,
they're posting up,
yeah.
Adama is
Yeah.
writing those.
Afroscopes. Is it what they're calling Afroscopes, I think, or something?
I think so.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it.
Yeah, check it out. It's on the Lil Soso page, I think. So,
Yeah,
oh,
lilsoso.com, and
yeah,
then there's a post, you'll be able to go
exactly.
and see it.
Yeah.
And then go find the sister and see if she will give you a reading.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's insightful, because you get to know your what I like to call sky energies. You know, there's this woman on YouTube named the Sky Priestess I love listening to, because she, you know, she is, I want to say she's Malay,
Okay.
because she lives in Malaysia, so she might be Malay. I'm not quite sure. But she lays it out. Who else do I like that does? There's so many different things. I have to find the sources, but finding, you know, getting your chart done and read, looking at things like your north nodes and your south nodes,
Right.
to see what energy you're bringing into this life, and then what your lessons are. You know, that understanding yourself and those tools to understand it, really important. You know, human design is something that's really interesting, because it's looking at how energies play out into your life. Talking to the elders in your life, if you have access to them, right? Because the older people get, the less they're trying to hold on to secrets. And it's not like, if you ask them direct and you don't get an answer, ask them in an indirect way and just let them talk. But learn yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever you have to do to learn yourself, to learn what energies are working within you, go do that. Because it
Yourself.
makes it easier to accept yourself.
Right. And also yourself, this is it. You're the only one that's going to get through this, you know, partnered or not, kids or not, it's you.
Right.
If you don't get all this stuff together in who you are, then you're going to have trouble, my dear. And that's
Right.
a very clear thing. And also, you know, there are times where, you know, I look at myself, right? And myself of December 2019 is different from April 2020 Simone, or May 2020 Simone, you know? And so giving yourself that room for that self to be something different as well, and all the different forms it can take on, you know, that's also important. I've completely loved this conversation. I had in my mind it was going to be 30 minutes. I was like, oh no, we're going to keep going. So we're going to keep going. I'm actually going to go for an hour. I think we jumped on at 11:07, so we'll probably go on till 12:07. It definitely, Tali said that sometimes that can be scary and challenging. Yes, that's what I say to that. I honestly, and the reason why I just say yes is because everything's scary and challenging. And also for our generation, it's not as scary as what our ancestors kind of have been through, you know. And so while we have fears and while we have some very present dangers, we need to lean on the strength of what we had before. We have to lean on that strength, pull it through, and keep going. Because one other thing that is very important, we are part of the future, and there is a future. Those two things is undeniable. This is not the end of the world. It's actually a rugged beginning.
Right.
Beginnings often look like this. You know, I like yourself, I have 20 plus year career, but mine's in PR, public relations. And, you know, influencers and the whole market of influencing and all the rest of it killed the PR market. And, you know, everything I had worked for, all the experience I had to pivot. you know, and it was hard. It was really hard because it was such a big part of my identity as well. And I did pivot, and I pivot into many different things. There's all different things that I'm into. But yes, it was scary because every single thing I knew, the degree I got, the experience that I've been working for 15 to 10, 20 years at that point, all kind of became null and void because someone, you know, put their IG live on and went, hey guys, I know you've been asking for my skincare routine. And all the people with the brands thought that's better than the craft that we've learned and done. And so changes everywhere all the time is scary and it hurts. And when you're hard-headed, you get dragged into where you're supposed to be. So yes, I can only say yes. I'm not going to apologize for the fears and the scariness, and I'm not going to apologize for the challenges, because like this, I don't know if you can see, this tattoo is a lotus. It's of my non-profit brand, I'm Possible, and I chose it. It basically empowers women and girls of color globally, and I chose the lotus because it blooms in murky waters. And that's very much how I see women of color and Black women. We bloom in murky waters. And to be frank, this has been the theme of my life. My biggest and best successes has been out of very dark times, and also just circumstances that I wish sometimes that, wow, that was a really hard lesson. So yeah, let's welcome the scary and challenging. It's not easy, but that's why you have to have a good network. You were going to say.
And the thing, so one of the other things that's really going to get us through is perspective. When we say scary, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And is it scary because it's unknown? Is it scary because it's truly scary? Or is it scary because when you start to look at your shadow or the places within you that you don't project out to people, you're not clear that you're not going to like what you see.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that all of that is okay. You know, the word that resonates very deep for me right now is grace. You know, we have to have, I think the goal of a lot of it is radical self-compassion. You know, the way that I'm able to have a bit more peace about myself and who I am is I can look in the mirror and say, okay, I actually love myself and I like myself and I accept myself. Now, there are things that I want to improve, you know, like whatever, you know, there are things that can be better. There are things that I'm going to continue to grow and work on. There are things that, you know, I beat myself up and I need to believe in myself even more so I can get on my task, right? Because I cause myself more pain by, you know, all the self-doubt that I walk with sometimes. Yes. And I can say, you know, I have radical self-compassion for myself and I accept it and I'm willing to change. So says, you know, when we're scared, it's because we don't necessarily know how to navigate we don't know how to navigate or deal with the plate or the platter of stuff that we're going to get when we start looking. Right. And the best thing you can do is to give yourself grace. You know, if you don't have a therapist, get a therapist because you don't have to do all of this stuff alone. That's the other thing. You know, if
get a therapist, don't bleed your stuff on people. Sorry.
Right. You know, if you have, you know, you still have employment and your job has a benefit program, you probably have EAP, Employee Assistance Program. You can call and get your free 6 sessions. I'm gonna tell you, that stuff is powerful. There's telehealth. There's all, you know, what is it? Therapy for Black girls, therapy for Black boys. I think those 2 websites where you can find culturally competent practitioners and all of this other type of stuff.
It's so important. The therapy part of this is so important.
Right. And so these are all the technologies and the tools that we have to, what I'd like to call, do our inner work. It's only as scary as we make it. And it's scary when we're not willing to be in truth with ourselves. If you can our biggest relationship is our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with truth. And if you are willing to tell the truth about yourself to yourself, you make your life easier. And then the little boogie monster isn't that terrifying. We get in trouble when we refuse to see.
Because the boogie monster actually is you, right?
Right. Or in the shadows and the collective traumas and the wounds and the childhood traumas. And
it's all you.
You know, and sometimes we carry our people's stuff. That's the other big thing, is what's ours and what's What are we carrying through other lifetimes? What are we carrying through the line? Because a lot of us are generational pattern breakers and generational trauma breakers, and we are ending certain things
I feel like
with
you're
us.
now, seriously.
Say it again.
I feel like you're hype man right now. I'm just
like pop, 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 pop.
Whoa.
Right? Woo!
Because you're just saying everything, and I'm like, yeah.
You know, it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy.
No.
But it is fulfilling, because when you know who you are and who you belong to, it gives you an unshakable peace that built you for these times. And here's the thing: if you are alive in this moment, you are built for this time. You may not know it because you've never had to use those muscles. Go find the muscles that are going to help you navigate this time. Stop making excuses for your dysfunction. Stop fighting for your dysfunction, and don't fight for other people's dysfunction. Don't hold on to other people. There's a lot of illusion and delusion going on, and you got to ask yourself the question: is it true? You know, what's really happening here? How does this help me walk and get into alignment? How does this help me get into alignment? So you don't be scared. Like, be scared, but don't be scared. Because you'll continue being scared. You know, just turn your gaze inward. And look at it as an adventure, and give yourself grace, and laugh, like, because we're fucked up. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we are, child, the ghetto. I mean, we're a mess.
For real. Like, I you know, there's so many things you said there. You were like, don't hold on to your dysfunction. Don't hold on to other people's dysfunction. Jesus. Ooh. Yeah, that went through me. Because, as you said, a lot of these things we carry is not ours. A lot of these things, and I do believe that we are also the generation where we have to stop a lot of these things passing through our lineage, and that means it is scary. You know, that is scary because it's bigger than us, and this thing is older than us. But it's not insurmountable, and it's not insurmountable directly because we've got our ancestors guiding us how to get rid of these bullshit things. We have
the aberrations.
Yeah, we have no fucking need of them anymore.
Yeah, it's the aberrations. And, you know, you said something important about there is a future. Absolutely. Absolutely there is a future. There is a future. And, you know, and I can say that as someone who sometimes borders on pest.
That's right. In it.
Right, we're in it. And we're making it. You know, because, you know, people was like, what's your political choice? And I'm like, Asteroid 2020 just ended already. You know, making macabre ass jokes like, you know, this shit is ghetto. I'm tired. We got, you know, but, and there is a future, and we're making it. And the truth of the matter is that those of us who are here now, we are paving the way for those who are not yet born, because the littles that we're having right now and those who aren't born they're the ones who are going to be the leaders. It's not going to be any of us.
Oh, hell no.
It's not right.
Leading?
Right. You know, we gonna try. We gonna try, but it's not us. We are literally paving the way and making a way for those who are coming. Who, you know, and so this is why there is a war on children globally, honestly, because they are the ones who are going to be ushering it in. So if we don't do it for ourselves, do it for the littles, do it for the kids. And the amount of depression and anxiety and challenges that these babies have, their sensitivities, you know, we're failing them. But they're the ones who are going to have to herald all this stuff in, because they're fucking amazing. These kids are amazing.
I'm ashamed to go and pass this shit on.
Right. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I know there's a whole, you know, diatribe against shame. No, there's a difference between being right. There's a difference between being made to feel shame for who you are and feeling ashamed for the bullshit that you do. And we really need to feel, if this is the world we're giving to these kids, we should be ashamed.
But the thing is, we need shame. We need all of these emotions.
Right.
We shouldn't use them as a tool to berate people and who
Right.
they are, but we need them. We need them
Right.
because it keeps us human. As much as we're spiritually connected, we are human, and we
Right.
have to have this human experience.
Right.
For all of the things we know and all of the gods and the ancients that we talk to and we commune with and we do things with, we have to be human. That's why we're here. So honor this fucking experience. Honor the people we're trying to pass things on to. So that means you
Right.
don't hand them a steaming pile of shit.
Right. Right.
Because that's what we're doing. What is this that we're giving them? Land that's poison, water that's you can't even drink, and poison
Right.
you. That's what you want to hand to them, and then
And we're putting them in cages,
right, and then
because we destroyed their lands. Like,
oh well, I need to, I want to watch Netflix, and I have a right to go out and shop and buy sparkly tops. I have a right. Shut the fuck down.
oh no, I think I got you started. But yeah, that's the bottom line. I mean,
the point where I'm like,
yeah, I'm just like, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your damn kids. You brought them into this world.
and
but
I'm not even I don't have kids yet, right? But I feel for them. I feel for these children like they're my own.
Yeah.
How dare we?
Yeah. I was substitute teaching where I am, and kids love me, and I'm like, oh, but they're, and particularly in urban school districts, the U.S. education system is a bit of a sham and a scam. And I've worked in a number of school districts, and I've worked with a lot of youth development and things like that. And we just aren't doing these kids the way they need to be done. These kids, they need love. And here's the thing: if you have your babies at home, and I know, the jokes are they're your broke best friends, and they terrible co-workers and all that other type of stuff. And love your babies. Love them. Hug them, cuddle with them, tell them that it's going to be okay. Listen to them, ask them how they are, connect with them,
talk with them. Hear their opinions.
Right, hear them, because they're brilliant. They are brilliant. They are insightful. Create a container for your babies that allows them to feel safe, because a lot of these kids, whether they come from challenging financial situations or they come from, prosperous situations, they don't necessarily feel safe. And then don't raise little assholes. Because I'm always amazed at the amount of people who are like, I can't stand my fucking kids. And I'm looking like, didn't you raise them? Aren't you raising these kids?
And they're
you made this. Exactly. They're a reflection. You made this kid. So how you can't stand this kid, but you made them.
And I'm like, when they're like, oh my God, I'm all day home with the kids. And I'm like, they're yours.
But they're yours. And they're your mirror. So if you're raising somebody that you can't stand, what the fuck do you think you're unleashing on the world?
And then also what you've given to the teachers, and
right,
hell, and you screaming, they gotta go back to school. Oh, now we know.
Right.
Now these people been dealing with your kids.
Right. And so this is also the importance of the journey. Your ability to connect to yourself in your spiritual walk. It's you, and then it's what you project outwards, and then it's how you are caring for and impacting other people. It's how we are making the future by visualizing it now. And it's the responsibility that we take for creating the world we want to see. I'm back. I forgot. It's like an hour, right? They say you only get an hour.
Child, I didn't even know. I saw it coming. I thought, okay, yeah, we're flowing. And then it just went, end of life. And I was like, oh, okay.
IG was like, get off our server.
I know. They're just like,
get off our server. We don't watch you anymore. It's too much.
But I just thought we could wrap up, so
yes,
and we were anyway. But you said too much, and when I say too much, like just it's too much. But it was everything. Given me, you always do anyway. But you've given me some fresh insight into stuff. And what I love, the people that I hold dearest, the people who give me language, and you give me language. Risi, Andrea, you give me language, and I need that, because I need that language to understand and to articulate my experiences and what I'm trying to get through. And the beautiful work you do as a writer is that you give us context, you give us explanation, you give us peace through these words. So I want to thank you for giving all of that this morning, because you have, you've given it to us the way. And as I said, I was just your hype man. I was like, but you know, I'm just so, I don't know what your last words just on the conversation and stuff.
Yeah, what I would say is that this is an opportunity for us to shift our perspective so we can shift our paradigm. Perspective meaning viewpoint, paradigm meaning the frameworks in which we operate. If we are able to do what we can to shift our perspective, including our beliefs, our all this other stuff, we can shift our paradigm. And it's also time for culture to evolve. Culture, no matter where it comes from, what it is, it has to evolve, and it's time for it to evolve, because it becomes a point what was a norm or a more can start to become harmful. And in order for culture to survive, to thrive, to propagate, to continue, it has to evolve. And I say this because people make the culture. Exactly. So if people are evolving, culture has to evolve. Exactly. So shift your perspective, change your paradigm. It's time to shift the paradigm. It's time for culture to evolve, and do this by getting to know yourself, getting to know your people, this side and the other realms.
Of course. I love this. Thank you. Thank you for these gems. I'm gonna have you back because I'm selfish. But we're gonna do this again. I'm you know, a little disorganized, guys. Okay, I'm just gonna come clean. That's my truth. So I'm hoping this is gonna be a weekly thing, but give a girl a break. I need to have some snacks and a little drink to figure out what to do with my life. And then yes, I'm gonna try and do this next Sunday too. And yeah, we're going to keep talking. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep talking through ancestors and our spirit worlds and spirit armies. And we're going to keep giving you and ourselves these gems. I will always say, I want to make this point as well. People, when you're trying to learn and when you're looking to learn from people, always be very vigilant if the people that are teaching you are also learning. Learning is a two-way street. And I believe that nobody knows it all. Nobody. They're everywhere. Even those people who know it all, they get their information and learning from somewhere. And so if the person you're gleaning information from is not even thinking or improving on their thoughts as they're teaching you or even seeing new perspectives, just be a little weary of that, because we have to continue to grow and challenge ourselves. And growth is for everyone. It doesn't stop just because you have this amount of knowledge. So it's just something I wanted to pass to you guys. So thank you, Evie.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you that joined and stuck with.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm really, really chuffed. Thank you.
And she came back. Yay.
And they came back too, right? And just thank you. Thank you guys for fucking with us. But, you know, like using the tools, liking every like. Honestly, it really, really makes me feel warm that we're doing stuff that people need, and it's helping and it's making movement happen in life. So thanks again. So from our hearts to yours, please have a blessed Sunday. Have a great week ahead. I hope this has sort of positioned you to really go out there and do what you need to do. And when I say go out there, I mean go out there by staying at home. Don't go anywhere. And keep safe. We're going to do more than get through this. We're going to create a future that makes sense for us.
And collect your rainwater. Collect your rainwater. And stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. Hydration is the key to health. Go drink some water.
For real. I'm going to do it now, actually. I'm too thirsty for anyone. I was going to reach the Gato, but no, we'll because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. But no,
right. Water. Hydrate first and then go on, you know, have your cocktail.
That's true.
Balance.
Oh, wow.
Harmony, balance.
Right. We're trying. Okay, people. I love each and every one of you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.